My biggest goal, number one, and I've stated this over and over, is to fix our water. The water is disgusting. And then the second thing I'm going to do is meet with our police department, because that's another huge concern. I mean, I would like to see our schools improve, because currently our school board and city board do not really get along real well.
Welcome to the Millionaire Mentorship Podcast. Today we've got a very special guest, and I always love it when I have the chance to interview somebody who's fighting for a cause that they believe in, somebody who's getting into public service. And today I have April Haddock out of Smithville, Missouri, who is a mother, and she has a family in Smithville. She cares about her community, and you're running for mayor. And I'm excited to talk to you. I got a bunch of questions for you. The most important thing to understand about who you're voting for when you vote for somebody is, are those people responsive to you? I called all 4 people who are running for mayor. April's the only one that followed up with me, contacted me, and then today we're on a podcast together to talk to her about. So just first assumptions, she gets things done. So that's my first assumption. So welcome.
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. So tell me a little bit about your story as to where you started, kind of how you grew up, and what led you to the current position of trying to run for mayor right now, or running for mayor and trying to win.
Okay, so I grew up in Clay Como.
Okay.
After that, I graduated high school a year and a half early, and then I bought my first house in Liberty at 19.
Okay.
Shortly after that, I got married.
Okay.
And then we rented a house from my dad, one of his rental houses. So
Okay.
we lived there while we saved some money until we were able to buy a house in Smithville.
Smithville. So how long has Smithville been home for you?
A little over 8 years.
8 years. And so obviously you love the community where you're from. And I noticed, because I live between Smithville and Platte City, and I always go to Smithville, and my chiropractor's there, my dentist is there, just was there the other day, and I'm like, why are there so many signs up for mayor? And I was like, I need to start calling a few of these people. So I went on the other day, and I called everybody, and we spoke, and the first question I have for you, April, is why do you want to run for mayor?
Okay, so first I want to run for mayor. Well, let me back up. Originally, I was going to run for city council, which is alderman.
Yeah.
Then I started getting phone calls from several businesses and neighbors and other people who live in Smithville, and they asked me if I would consider switching for running from alderman to mayor, because at that time we did not have a good candidate who was going to oppose our incumbent.
Okay.
So, I kind of thought about it. I prayed on it. I took it to my pastor, and he thought it was a great idea. He said, I can see that in you, and I think you should go for it. And so I did. And of course, since then, a couple other people have signed up. And so now we're at 4.
4 people. So
yeah.
Who's your competition?
Okay, so the incumbent, which is Damien Boley.
Okay.
And then we've got Allie McLean, and Allie ran the previous mayor election. Her numbers were very, very low. We're all honestly shocked that she would want to run again based off her numbers last time. And then we have Chelsea Dana. So
why are you going against the incumbent right now? Obviously, three other people in the race tells me, not knowing anything, because I don't reside in Smithville, that's the area I go to the most often, that he's not doing a good job.
Correct.
So why is this person not doing a good job? It's Mayor Boley?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He's not doing a good job mainly because he does not listen to the citizens.
Okay.
At all. Not at all.
What's his background?
He owns a bicycle shop in Smithville. He's actually building a new one in a newer development that he has coming up, like right now, that's being built.
Okay.
And I know he does have some college. I honestly couldn't tell you all of his pedigrees or lack of, I don't know.
But he's not, there's a lot of development going on in Smithville right now.
There is a lot.
And right prior to the podcast, you mentioned that's driving a lot of these smaller businesses out. Who's pushing that development?
Well, I don't really want to throw any developers under the bus because they wouldn't like that. But the developers, they're really taking over Smithville, and we're building ahead of our infrastructure. And there's no solid foundation to substantiate what they're doing. We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
So nobody's planned for the back end.
Correct.
Yeah, it sounds like I understand that. So one of what are your biggest goals as mayor of Smithville should the people decide to elect you?
My biggest goal, number one, and I've stated this over and over, is to fix our water. The water is disgusting, and
When you say disgusting, I'm assuming that you've had it tested.
So yeah, they do test it. I mean, technically it's safe to drink, but it tastes gross, and oftentimes it smells gross. Even the private schools, they don't allow the kids to drink the water. They pay a service to come in and bring like those big blue tubs or whatever of water, and they have the kids fill up their drinking bottles with the water. They've never made it a priority to
What's the
mitigate
issue
it.
there? Is it piping? Is it like purification? Or
It's piping. So I actually just toured the facility last week, and a lot of that facility is still like out of the 70s, and we're working off of I think they said technology from 1993, and there is more technology that we could use to help mitigate the water and the taste, and of course all that costs money, but the city has never made it a priority to allocate funds to that or try to come up with some resources on just how to fix that once and for all.
So have you looked at the city's budget and where they're putting money?
Everywhere pretty much but the water.
Okay. Let's talk about this. And I'm going to ask you some questions. I don't even know if you're going to know the answers to these. I wouldn't know the answers. I'm just kind of curious. So when tax dollars come in for they come in from property taxes mainly. Is that what mainly funds the city, or how does the city get most of its funding?
Yeah, property taxes, and we do get a little bit of a kickback on things that are delivered. I think it's called a special sales tax, and I could be wrong here because I am still kind of learning. I'm the chair of the finance committee. I've been on it for about 8 or 9 months or so, but I'm definitely still learning. There's so much to learn, all the logistics, so I'm definitely still learning.
It's hard to become a bureaucrat. There's a lot of bureaucracies and there's so many things, and everything is old school, or it's done because this person sold this and said it was a good thing, good product.
Right. So I know when we get deliveries from, say, Amazon, because everybody, uses Amazon, we do get a kickback from that tax that comes there.
Oh.
But we don't control when we get that money. It's kind of when Amazon decides to release that back to us. But when we do, it's kind of an extra cushion that we get.
For those of our listening audience who is not in Smithville, lives outside of Missouri, lives in somebody else, can you paint a picture of what Smithville is? Because I think it's a really cool community.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town. We have a beautiful lake that I don't think that we capitalize on as much as we could.
It's huge.
It is. It's huge, and it's just beautiful. It's so serene. It's really untouched. Now, Smithville doesn't technically own the lake. It's the Engineer Army Corps.
Oh, okay.
They technically own it and manage it, but of course it's right, in our backyard.
How big is that lake?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
On a map, it's huge.
It is. It's a very big lake.
Is it deep?
It's pretty deep, yeah.
Have you spent a bunch of time in it?
Unfortunately, I haven't, no. But I live, I'm not even 2 minutes from it. So, my daughter and I will go, we'll have picnics by it and everything, and we fish and kayaked around it.
So you can't build on it because it's owned by the Army Corps of Engineers, probably. But if you could get it unowned by the Army Corps of Engineers, that would be a hell of a...
Yeah, or if there's even something, we could partner with them on and maybe have a restaurant that overlooks the lake. I mean, oh my gosh, people would flourish.
I'm your guy if you ever want to do something like that.
Just think every time you want to go to a nice restaurant, you have to go south of the river because there's just nothing in the Northland. So
wow,
that would be great.
So what I would love to see in the Northland is so I'm from Las Vegas for the last 15 years. So I'm 3 years into living in Kansas City, Missouri. And I would tell you, I love everything about Kansas City, Missouri, except for my lack of food and culture a little bit. If I want to go to a Thai place in Las Vegas, I got a million places to choose from. If I want to even hit Ethiopian now, I think that if we could get a little bit more of one of the best buffets actually I've ever had. Have you ever been to the buffet off Berry Road? It's called the Asia Buffet.
Yes, my daughter and I love that buffet.
It's the best $11 you could ever spend. And I just feel like if we could attract, I'm a big Thai massage guy. That's a very, it's what do they call that? Homeopathic type of way to heal your body versus going to a chiropractor, and it works wonders. I've actually told my people in Vegas, I'm like, if you come out here, I'll get a space for you, in my building. So what kind of, for people who are outside of Smithville, tell us what Smithville's like.
Smithville is a very, very laid-back community. Some might call it kind of a one-horse town. We don't really have a whole lot there. We did get some fast food places. We have like a Burger King and a Taco Bell now, which, I mean, has been nice. We don't really have a whole lot of restaurants. Humphreys is no longer there. They left. So we've got our barbecue place and Kozak's and the Brie or
Scooter's Coffee.
Scooter's Coffee. Yeah, there's one over by the vet place that starts with a B. I forgot what it's called, but not a good selection of restaurants, which is really
Would you like to see that improve?
Yes, we would
What
definitely.
do we need to see?
I think things like Cracker Barrel, Texas Roadhouse would fit our demographic. I know a lot of people probably think those are kind of like boring, but you do have to kind of look at the demographic and what, so I think that would be good for us. Again,
What's the population?
Roughly 11,000.
Okay. So Topgolf is not going to work.
Yeah, probably not. But you never know.
What's the biggest grocery store there?
Price Dropper, and that is our only grocery store.
Right. Would you like to see like a Trader Joe's come in?
That or Aldi's, because Price Dropper is kind of high.
Is it Constantino's Price Chopper?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they own the restaurant or the supermarket right across the street here in downtown. So is Constantino's a big brand in Missouri?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, because they own the one in Platte City too, that Price Chopper.
Correct. Yeah, they don't own all of them, but a lot of them they do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like Price Chopper, and most of us will shop there because if you go outside of Smithville, you got to factor in your gas and your time.
So you're raising your children there. You live there, mm-hmm. and do you do most of your? So you're a realtor, mm-hmm. right?
Yes.
Do you do most of your business there?
No, we're all over.
Who do you work for?
I work directly for Jeff Taylor team. So Jeff Taylor is my broker, but we're under the umbrella of Reese Nichols. And
can you tell us about the history of Reese Nichols? Because they're a pretty big brand in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, they are a big brand. They are still, they're expanding. It's a great company. They're very professional. They really dot their I's, cross their T's. They're big on, legalities and protecting us and making sure we protect our clients.
Okay, I do have a couple questions that I wrote down. So one thing that was impressive to me that you said over the phone is that you've knocked hundreds of doors.
I have.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Like campaigning for political office.
Uh-huh.
What's been your strategy to win?
Trying to get in front of people. I mean, it is hard when you haven't really been in office before. So yeah, just door knocking. I've handwritten over 300 note cards at this point, and that plus my Christmas cards, so really almost 400. Handwritten, like literally personalized.
Hand stamped?
Yes.
Hand stamped?
Yes.
Kids helping?
No.
No, just you.
No. And I know, like when I had started this, people were like, well, previous, people that had run, I know there was somebody for the school board that had run not too long ago, and they're like, well, she would have like parties where she'd just tell everybody like what to write, and everybody would just write it, and then they'd sign it. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. This is going to be for me. So They have all been like, if you get a card from me, it is for me.
How has that response been?
So I did have a couple meet and greets, and I did have several people come, and they were like, oh, I got your Christmas card. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I kind of forgot I even did that. So that was great.
What are you looking to accomplish in Smithville if you get elected? How long is the term?
It's 4 years, which is honestly is too long.
You do think how long do you think it should be?
I think 3 years is a good amount of time because there is so much to learn, and then once you learn it, you want to be able to execute it and apply it. So I think 3 years is a good term you get to learn some things and try to actually get something accomplished. And then I think we also need term limits.
Yeah, we could.
I mean, and that's across the country. But
let's can we digress a little bit? Like, you've got these people in like federal politics. Mm-hmm. I'm going to drop a few names. Nancy Pelosi, insider stock trading.
Right.
Like, get her out of there. And if that's illegal, if I go to jail for that and you get reelected, there's a problem.
Yeah.
You've got Mitch McConnell. He's going out. Like, the lights are not there all the time.
Right.
They might be there sometimes.
Right.
But they're not there all the time. You've got people, our president, 50 years in politics, and
it's too long.
Well, there's corruption is going to be bred in that. Mm-hmm. You start forgetting about who you're looking out for because you got so many people approaching you.
You do.
Right? So
you get complacent. You get comfortable. You forget what the goal is.
Right.
Because I think probably a lot of people do start off with the right intention.
I agree.
And then over time you're just like, well,
let this one go.
Yeah.
Let that one go.
Yeah, and then before you know it, you're just crooked and no better than the others.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people go into for the right reasons, and then it's the shiny money, this person, that person, and then they're in it. The next thing you know, they're forgetting who they're serving, but they're really good about getting reelected. And I always find it crazy to be like, how is this person still in office? Like, who is paying attention to what they've done?
I know.
And we could go down a laundry list of people, but it's the same people over and over who get reelected and stay in office. And I'm just like, and I watch what they do, and I'm like, how does that happen?
Yes.
So does that, as somebody, is somebody who sees that in the federal level, you don't agree with that, obviously?
No, it's very frustrating. And honestly, even if you're doing a decent job,
Right.
I think every so many years, you just need to switch out. You need a fresh set of eyes because somebody else could have, better ideas than you do or know of other resources that you're not aware of.
Yeah, change is good.
Change is good. It's positive, and that's the one thing we can count on in life. I
Well-
guess unless you're in politics. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really unfortunate that so many people get there and then they just sit there. Because, these kind of positions, they're not meant to be a career. It's a temporary title.
Why are you doing it?
So the water, and then, I have a really big heart, and I just feel like this is where God has led me to be, honestly. Like, I fully believe this is what I should be doing, and I have a really big heart for the community. I'm very approachable. I certainly do not understand 100% of city logistics. I am learning, but I want to be a voice for the people. I want people to be comfortable with me, and certainly feel like they can come down to our city council meetings and voice their opinions and concerns without feeling intimidated or not heard.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because that's the biggest thing with somebody is making them feel heard. I think women tend to do that better than men sometimes. Like, guys are such straight, like, back to forth communicators.
Right. I mean, if you can watch our board meetings. They're on YouTube. If you go to Smithville Alderman meetings, you'll see various people come up to the podium to speak, and he just keeps his head down. He's like doodling on his little pad, and we're all like, "What are you doing? Can you not make eye contact or thank this person for coming out?" It's so rude. He's so rude.
So the big reason is it sounds like every candidate doesn't support the current mayor or respect the current mayor, I would say. Is that accurate?
Sure, absolutely.
Because if this guy's doing a great job, there's no opposition. Everybody's like, let's stay in.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 3 people fighting for one person's job.
Yeah.
And that means that they all believe, yourself included, and there are probably a lot more people than that because these are just the people that decided to put their, it's not hard, or it's hard running for mayor, meaning that, like, not only do you have to financially commit, but more importantly, commit your time,
right,
and commit your resources to see, like, and I may not even get elected, right?
Yes.
So where do you feel like you are in that race? Like, the voting is April 2nd, right? And what happens? Is that like the final, they vote April 2nd and you either win or you lose?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you measure where you're at currently?
I mean, all you can really do is kind of get out into the community and kind of take a temperature check when you door knock, when you talk to people. Our gun shop has fully endorsed me, and I know they have a pretty big customer base, and it's also kind of a place in the community where a lot of people, obviously a lot of the guys and police officers go to just kind of hang out and chit chat.
I noticed that. I've been into that gun shop.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. Yeah.
I met the game warden there.
Yeah.
I met, like, the locals and everything.
Yes, Triple J guns.
Yes. 100% triple, and she is 100% right. It's a watering hole. It's the local watering hole.
Yeah. So I know they support me, so that's been a huge blessing. They try to tell everybody about me that they can. Burton's Bait and Tackle Shop, same for them. They're great. But a lot of people that kind of come in and out of that shop, they don't necessarily live in Smithville.
Got it.
So, and of course, I want to target people that can vote.
And so let's go into that a little bit, because I think it relates to a lot with what our audience does and listens to, is like a lot of the people who listen to this podcast, but this will be aired on all sorts of socials, but a lot of people that listen to this podcast, they're either entrepreneurs, business owners, and stuff like that. Many of them local, many of them not. But when you're putting all of that together and you're deciding, like, okay, am I going to do this? You have to decide, who is my customer? And my customer is my voter, right? So generally, and I've talked to a lot of people running for public office and lifetime politicians, and they know, and this is the same conversation I had with you, they know who votes every election cycle, and they go after them, and then they just do the signs. Because the other people may not vote, and you got to put your efforts where that is. So how many people in Smithville, those 11,000 people, vote?
Oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. So this last election we had, which was to vote on a tax to help us pay for a new police station, because we do need a new police station. I think we have roughly 11,000 people. I think our voter turnout was only like around 420 people.
So you need 500 people to win. You need 500 people to win, basically.
That's so bad. Well, that was for that. I mean, we are anticipating, because this is going to be like a mayor election, that we'll get a bigger turnout. And then, of course, when it's a presidential election, we get more turnout. But I mean, the bottom line is unfortunately, people don't pay attention to local politics, and that's where it starts. I have even sitting around the family dinners and everything, people will be like, well, who's this person in office? I'm like, because y'all weren't paying attention at the local level, and they were working their way up the ranks, while you guys were like, oh, it's just a local election. I guess there's an election today. I'm like, do you know who's on the ballot? Do you pay attention? All
right, so let's go forward with that. Do you see this as the beginning start of your political journey?
I mean, I would love that.
What would you like? What would be your big ambitions? First female president of the United States?
I don't know. We'll see where the wind takes me.
Okay. So you're pretty religious, I'm picking up.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me how that works in your life.
I definitely look, to God before I do anything. I have discussed on a couple of videos that if I am elected mayor, I would like to bring prayer back to before we start our meetings. And also, I know when people get sworn in as new elected positions right now, they get sworn in on, I'm not sure what it is, but it's not a Bible.
Yeah.
So I think that needs to be switched back to the Bible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So what about the people who are not religious and they're in those things? Like,
yeah.
I get where you're coming from, but what about the people who are not, like, they're like, well, I don't need that. So why is that important to you enough to maybe come up against some roadblocks?
I fully anticipate that. And if you, are not religious, that's of course your decision, and you don't have to participate. You can just, I guess, sit down or not, whatever. But, the bigger picture here is our country. We are losing our country on every level.
Oh, yeah.
People have to wake up and pay attention. And for me, that means we have to get God included.
What's the scariest thing that you see when we talk about our country, not Smithville? Because I think that mm-hmm. is something I'm super concerned about. You may have seen that in my videos before. I'm like, hey, honey, when I tell my wife, we're not just shopping for a new city or state or whatever. We might be shopping for a new country at this point in time. And I've said this, and I've seen the comments. It's like, as sad as that is for me to say, mm-hmm. it's a fact.
Right.
Because our rights are being stripped, our money's being stripped, our identity is being stripped. We're supposed to believe in transgendered this, transgendered that. They're trying to teach that to our children. That's stuff that scares me, and I'm not ashamed to say that on open air, because I do not want my kids to be taught that way.
It is. The public schools, unfortunately, so many of them are just indoctrinating our kids. It's brainwash.
Yeah. One guy who is a social media influencer he ran for governor of California. He's a young guy, and I thought he had such good ideas. Like, the school system's broken. He's like, we need to have what is called workforce schools, where we teach people trades and skill sets. Not everybody wants to become a doctor or a lawyer or this or that. A lot of them, especially, Midwest has got a lot of working class people that know how to be good on their hands. And as people are so reliant on their iPhones and this and that and the social media, but we need people to do stuff.
Absolutely.
What control does the mayor have of Smithville?
They control what gets put on the quote agenda. And the agenda is what is brought to the meetings, and that is what is discussed, and those are the topics that get voted on. So
let's say I wanted to create an ordinance, mm-hmm. right? And so an ordinance is a city law, correct?
I believe so. I would have to double check that, but that sounds right.
Yeah, it's not a law on the books. It's mm-hmm. just an ordinance, and it's almost enforced as a law, I guess, is the way I understand it. So what things currently that Smithville has going on do you not like and that you would make changes to?
The biggest thing is that we have just this negativity that stems from our city council, and it's like it filters down to everything surrounding it. Even, the businesses. I mean, we're losing our local businesses.
Where are they going?
Well, the landlords keep doubling their rents and raising them so high that they can't possibly make a profit. So they're leaving.
But I see a lot of vacancies still in downtown. Like there's that mall right off of Martin Road in 169 that it doesn't have full occupancy. So
yeah,
landlords, is there a couple actors in there that are just being aggressive?
I think behind the scenes, they definitely dictate what they will allow to come in, which is unfortunate because I think they kind of want to monopolize, like what comes into Smithville and what doesn't. They want to control that. And then also, if you look at what we have now, I mean, there's just nothing. So kind of it's like, why would you want to come to Smithville?
Yeah.
Like you may be the only place that is decent. So until you get, it's almost like we'd have to have, 5 or 6 good places to come in at once for it to really look alive again. I mean, there's just nothing that makes you want to stay in Smithville on a Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah, like maybe a barbecue.
I mean, we have the barbecue.
What do you guys do for fun?
What do we do for fun? I mean, we usually have to go to Liberty.
Okay, and I hate going to Liberty.
Yeah, and that's a congested mess.
It's a congested mess.
Yeah.
So hopefully you don't want Smithville to look like that.
No. I mean, that's why I moved out of Liberty, and that was a long time ago.
And it was like that 8 years ago or 9 years ago?
Let's see, what would that have been? Almost like 20 years ago. It was starting to get really congested then. And
wow. So this is a 20-year project over there.
I mean, they're definitely projecting to do a lot of things in Smithville. I mean, we are going to see growth. That's going to happen. We can't control people,
Moving to Missouri.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of outsiders like myself coming into Missouri?
Oh, absolutely. We've had a ton of people from California. Just, I see it in the real estate world as well.
Yeah, right. Well, for sure, right? And why are they coming to Missouri?
Well, I think that they're able to sell their house for a ton of money out there, and walk away with, a lot of money and come here and put that down and buy something for almost cash. And then, too, I think a lot of people's political views have changed. So
right, so they're voting with their feet. Yeah, I talk to people in California all the time that are conservative, that are liberal, and they're just like, the people who are okay with living there, they're like, well, I'm insulated. I live in Newport Beach, or I live in Pismo Beach, or I live here, or I live there. But California has become a nightmare. Where do you plan on? You're born and raised in Missouri, right? How do you see this for your children? I'm imagining this is a lot of your motivation here to run for mayor, right? To try to provide a better place for your children.
Yeah.
So how do you see that full picture, like in an ideal dream world, April?
Again, we're going to see growth, and I think that's fine. I think we just want to still be able to see green space. We don't want to see all concrete. We don't want to see all buildings. I mean, I would like to see our schools improve, but that's kind of a whole other monster in itself that the city is kind of separate from. But that has been a concern as well, because currently our school board and city board do not really get along real well. So kind of mending that relationship is something that we need to
There's a lot of politics in politics.
Right.
So the big goal for right now is that the current mayor is not cutting the mustard. He's not approachable. He doesn't listen.
Right.
And he's just working with a select few people that are business people.
Right.
Not the entire community. Not listening to what the community wants, not giving them what they want, and not looking out for their best interest, and delaying things that, like water purification, should be addressed now versus let's build a new strip mall.
Correct. And I mean, these aren't things that I'm just saying off the top of my head. I mean, all the doors I've knocked before, as soon as I tell them that I'm running for mayor, I kid you not, I probably would say 80%, maybe even higher. They're like, oh, well, if you're not Boley, I'll vote for you.
Wow. So do you feel pretty good about your chances of winning?
I mean, I'm very hopeful. I definitely want to win. I think I have as good a chance.
How many prayers have you said?
Oh, Lord, every day. Yeah.
With this big new undertaking, as somebody who's... Now, first of all, if you guys are listening right now and say, okay, well, she's a realtor. Being a real estate person, you got to deal with people's biggest investment ever.
Right.
And I don't know what these other people did, but I can tell you, as somebody who sold 3,000 homes, okay, as a realtor myself, I know that you got to know your stuff. And I know that you're dealing with people's taxes and you're dealing with people's loan documents. And so you're already used to dealing with people and providing good service. Because if you're not a realtor providing good service, you're out of business.
Correct.
And if you're not communicating to your clients, you're out of business. And so you probably are similar to me, where you look at running for mayor, not that I'm running for mayor, but as a somebody that you have to give service to your constituents.
Right.
How do you see this? If you win, what's the first thing that you're going to do?
The first thing I'm going to do is meet with the water department.
Okay.
And then the second thing I'm going to do is meet with our police department, because that's another huge concern.
Let's talk about that concern. I know we talked about it over the phone a little bit, and you had expressed some concerns about the pay and how things are going on. What do you see being, because in Las Vegas, where I lived for 15 years, and I've lived out here for the last 3, but the fire department had like crazy, it was a constant issue in Las Vegas, where a lot of these firefighters were making $500,000 a year because of overtime and because of this and because of that, and really just honestly abusing the system because it was in their benefit. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If it's their job to do that, they can abuse it, but it's the mayor's job or the whoever's job, not saying that's that person's job, but it's, you got to look out at where you're spending on your public services so that you have enough money in it. Is there crime prevention? Is there other ways to do things that are a little bit more new school? So how do you look at the police department? Because everybody wants to feel protected and cared for and served.
I mean, it's a huge deal. It really is, especially with, all these illegal immigrants coming to the country. I mean, we don't know who's on the streets. We don't know who's driving through Smithville. I have a family of a lot of first responders, firefighters, police officers, SWAT. My sister and my dad. So it hits home with me big time when we're not taking care of our first responders. Like, I take it very personally. So their pay is terrible. Their benefits are not good. They're not really even competitive with other cities that aren't even as big as ours, which is such a slap in the face. Many of them have told me that they have taken their concerns to various people on city staff and they were ignored. Our police officers are dropping like flies. We have lost so many. It's unsettling. So many that we had to pull one of our school resource officers from the school to cover the road, which is unfortunate. So that leaves the school high and dry. So
do you guys have Clay County Sheriff there as well with Smithville Police?
So the county is kind of out and about a little bit because they manage the lake. So anything that goes on around the lake, technically Smithville doesn't control. So county is supposed to. But then again, because county isn't always around, a lot of times our officers will just go ahead and take the call. But yeah, we're definitely losing our officers. It's actually been kind of tossed around, and it's not real public knowledge yet, but that we are so low on officers, so we're actually looking at county maybe covering Smithville during the day, and then only having a Smithville Police Department at night.
What is an officer's salary starting at?
I think it's between 49 and 52.
Seems super low. I know that in other parts it's like $80,000-$90,000. Do you know what KCPD makes?
I think the other ones were like 59 to 72 somewhere. I made a graph, and of course now the numbers have left my mind, but I mean it's higher than Smithville for sure.
Yeah, so you guys feel like you're on the lower common denominator, and you're not, those people who are drawn to law enforcement are going to other cities versus staying in Smithville.
Right.
And Smithville is a very safe place. A couple cool things I like about it is you're right off the 169, so you can. For those of you guys who are listening who aren't in Missouri, the 169 will take you right into downtown Kansas City from Smithville. So that's a 20-minute commute. Is that about right?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing because you're coming off at the highway that divides both town. You got the downtown over there. How are you going to bring businesses to Smithville? Are you trying to increase population there? Is it like, where do you see, what's the, like in your dream world, what happens?
So right now I feel like we need to just address what we currently have.
Right.
Let's just take care of what we have now and manage what we have now and not get ahead. Get what we have now under control, the infrastructure, the sewage, the water. you know, go back to previous alderman meetings. You know, I'd like to see that and what other citizens had come up and their concerns were, and maybe circle back to them. And, you know, because some of these things could be more important. There's probably things that I don't even know about that are important that I believe will come to me if I get elected.
Can I talk to you about one thing that I think is important that a lot of political people miss, a lot of people in general miss, but it irritates me as somebody who's always watching costs, as a developer, as a builder, as a guy who's grew up broke and, you know, knows what a dollar takes to earn, is that all these cities put asphalt. I was just watching it happen on this street right here. Asphalt needs maintenance every year.
Yes.
It's like a complete loser.
Right.
Okay, Texas is one of the only states that I've seen where they put concrete.
Yeah.
Concrete lasts forever. You wouldn't build your house foundation out of asphalt. But the reason that they always vote for it is because asphalt comes a little bit cheaper for the actual laydown, and it does faster and everything like that. Something like that. Are you looking to make major changes that, like, hey, we invest this money now, but we never have to spend it again?
Right, absolutely. So one of the big frustrations is that a lot of things that we do in Smithville is we just put Band-Aids over things.
Yes.
You know, and it's just a temporary fix.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. And I know there's so many roads that are very dilapidated that need fixed, and they're like, well, you know, we haven't addressed that because it's not a high traffic area. And I understand that you need to triage things for sure. But, you know, this has been going on for years.
When you say triage, that word always confused me. Can you break it down a little bit?
Okay, so yeah, I have like 12 years in the medical field. So triage,
I hear triage a lot, and I'm like, at the hospital, or guys talk about it in the digital space, and I'm like, okay, you're losing me.
So it's just an order of what is important.
Okay.
You know, like you could have 10 things that, yes, they're all major concerns, but what is the most dire issue, you know, right now? Let's start with that, and then the others will go from there. And it's not that number 10 isn't just as important, you know, it's just that what is imminent we need to address now.
Right. Okay. So imminent for you is water.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what's next?
Looking at our infrastructure, and because our developers are very aggressive, Smithville is very green, it's beautiful, it's luscious. I mean, it's a dream for developers and people, you know, they see it in dollar signs, and, you know, dreams are endless there that people could probably come and do. So just taking care of what we have now, getting that under control before we do anything else.
Yeah, one thing, as I look and I come over Martin Road and I cross Martin Road coming from where I'm at and go towards Smithville, I'm like, you know, that 169 is going to become congested at some point in time. Sure. And like, where does it become? Where there's roads that, or overpasses that go there with bike trails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or does Smithville have bike trails right now?
We have bike trails. That is the one thing you could count on, is bike trails. And
that's right. There's a bike mayor shop.
Yes. So
we're covered. Thank you.
We are covered. Bring your bicycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that got covered right away.
Yeah.
Year one.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of bike trails been built.
Yes, and you know, that's another thing. And I think he was able to get some grant money for that. Just like, you know, the downtown area, and it looks nice. Like, I'll give that to him. It looks nice, but again, that doesn't fit our demographic. You know. Yeah.
So let's talk about your demographic.
Yeah.
Who is your demographic?
So it is mostly older people. I'd say.
When you say older,
well, that's probably not a correct term. I'd say probably 50 plus.
So I guess, people in their halfway point.
Yeah.
So
a lot of farmers.
A lot of farmers.
You know, most of us have big trucks, myself included.
What do you drive?
I drive an F-150.
We just did a podcast with some local guys who ran cars, and we said, what's the worst car? And they said a Ford. And I have a Ford too.
Yeah.
And it went nuts.
Oh, I love my truck.
Yeah. No problems with it?
No, but it's relatively new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brand new?
No, it's like a year old, but.
Okay. Well, it's brand new.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a King Ranch. I love it.
You got the big boy.
I do.
What's a King Ranch? That's a 350?
No, it's still an F-150. It's like a luxury line.
It's the King Ranch luxury. So it's got the brown with the, like the bull horns and everything like that. Does it have the massaging seats?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
That's a must?
Well, now that I've had it, I mean, like.
Okay, so how are you going to balance being a mayor with still being a mother, still running your family, and an agent. I don't even know, do you get paid for mayor?
You do. It's like $300 a month, something along those lines.
So you could retire easily.
I mean, it's really more like a volunteer type position.
That's what it sounds like to me. So you get $300 a month, which will pay for like a half a tank of gas on that King Ranch.
Yeah.
And so how are you going to balance it all?
So I have been asked this several times. One of the great things about real estate is that it is flexible. And that when you're a real estate agent, you're working, around the clock, not just like 9 to 5. You're also working in the evening and, on the weekends, and you can create your own schedule to some degree for the most part. So, I'm not too worried with it interfering with that. And then the mayor position, they're not there like physically at City Hall 9 to 5, and most of your meetings dinner are in the evening.
Can you tell to me about a little bit about the corporation city thing? Like, how do things get passed into law or how do changes get made? It's not just at the behest of the mayor; it's at the city council, or what did you call it? I know it's a little bit different. Board of supervisors.
The alderman.
The alderman. That's a Chicago term. I'm not really familiar.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't familiar with that term. So basically, it's just a city councilman.
So in Chicago, they're called aldermen. So it means it means a city council person. So how many city council or how many aldermen are in Smithville?
I think there are 6.
So 4 wins the vote.
And if there's a tie, then the mayor will break the tie.
Okay, gotcha. So mayors is very similar here. I think there's a total of 13 in Kansas City. There's 13 city council people. They don't call them aldermen, which is weird, and Smithville does.
Right.
That's strange. Because generally it's across the whole thing. So does Smithville get like federal funds? Do they get state funds? How do they fund the city besides tax dollars?
They do, and they get grants, and that's stuff I'm still learning, honestly.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I understand. It's like a lot. Listen, I've interviewed a lot of people, and I'm asking you pretty tough questions.
I'm definitely, again, I'm not claiming to know everything.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't walk into those types of positions. Right. You have to learn from your staff, from the people that you're working with, and that's why you have those people in place. But you can be a leader, you can be the visionary, you can kind of help facilitate those things and get things done.
Yeah.
Why should people vote for you? Why, if somebody's listening right now and they're like, I'm going to either vote for this person or Miss April, why would I vote for Miss April?
I believe that when you go to vote for things, especially local elections, because we are supposed to be more of like bipartisan than like Republican versus Democrat.
Right.
And I think you also have to kind of look at where you are at in the quote season of maybe that town or city. And I believe the quote season that we are in Smithville is that people do not feel heard. They are very frustrated with just people just being mean. And because one big concern in Smithville is that a lot of our board members and people that are on committees, they are very rude, and they harass people on social media. And a lot of these are elected positions, or they're head of committees, and it's very I don't know if unclassy is the correct word. It's tacky, it doesn't represent our city well. So I really would like to be just the face of the city of Smithville.
You'd like to be like welcoming people.
I want to welcome people. I want to bring, I have a big heart. I want people to feel that, this is a little country town. We all can get along. There's no teams. Like, I'm here to support the citizens, and I don't expect to stay mayor for years on end and term after term after term. Maybe there'll be somebody that's better for me in another 4 years, and that's fine. But for where we're at right now, I know I'm the best fit.
Yeah, and I could just say, just from talking to her, she's being authentic. She's telling you what she does know, she doesn't know. She's not acting like she has the answers to everything. And actions speak louder than words. And when you call or email or text 4 different people that are running for mayor, and only 2 of them got back to me. I spoke to one. but I could just tell by the people I was talking to about how seriously they took it. Anybody can put on and tell you what you want to hear as a politician. And there's a lot of that going on, right? A lot of people telling you what you want to hear. Hey, we're going to do the Affordable Care Act, or we're going to do the Inflation Reduction Act. It has nothing to do with inflation or reduction, but we're going to call it a good name. So we're in these rural towns. Smithville's considered a rural town.
Right.
At Platte City, rural town, where I live, more rural because we don't have no stores or anything like that. So, you know, I think there's rural town values, and it's nice. The one thing that I love about Missouri, and I don't know what your feeling is about this, but I love that I lived in Las Vegas for 15 years, and I knew my neighbors, but I knew them very casually. I have had several parties at my house. All my neighbors come. Yeah. If there's something going on with my house, my neighbors let me know. If there's something good or bad, right? Like they're like, your lights are annoying me. But I'd rather have that conversation than them think it, report me to an HOA, which is how Las Vegas works. So I feel like there's such a authenticness to the Midwest, and I've been telling this to my listening audience for years. It's like, we didn't plan on moving to Kansas City. It was not a plan. I planned on investing in Kansas City. And then we fell in love with the people, the culture, and the authenticity of the people and the welcomeness. Like, when I walked even down to Kansas City, they welcomed me and they explained things to me. And I'm picking that same vibe up to you, is that you want to be welcoming to people in Smithville and be the person that they can go to, voice their concerns, and you can address those concerns.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to kind of give you these last few minutes to kind of talk about anything that you want to talk about. Is there something specifically that you'd like to talk about Smithville, and like why you like it so much and why you care so much about it?
Well, I like it. It's a beautiful town. Lots of like-minded people. I am a conservative. That's not, again, it's a bipartisan
Well, what does
election.
Conservative mean to you?
So conservative to me, I don't really like the terms Republican or Democrat, because I don't really like to associate and say that I'm a Republican, even though that's how I typically vote.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Because I vote according to how things correlate with the Bible, honestly. So that is how I choose who I vote for. And that's why I just choose to say that I'm a conservative. I believe in traditional values. I believe in values that I think God would agree with. And then just a country mentality, because I am
what's a country
heart.
Well, you got a King Ranch, so what's a country mentality?
Just being kind of a down-home spirit. I have a lot of family that's from southern Missouri. My grandparents have a farm. Well, they used to. They got rid of everything, but that's what I grew up on. So, just being down to earth, getting your hands dirty in the mud and, raking, mowing.
You don't seem, just the way you present yourself, I don't see you like...
Oh, trust me, I am. So one thing I love to do is I go up to a little town called Jamesport. It's an Amish town.
Yes, they've done my barns.
Oh, gosh. I love going up there, and I bid on all their flower pallets, and I plant all those myself. And so I love being outside. Okay,
cool. I like where this conversation's going a little bit, because me and my wife, we were going to go to Chicago this weekend, and we decided not to. We're going to go next weekend because it's spring break. And I'm like, let's just go and go check out some places we haven't been out here. So where would you recommend that we go check out?
In Missouri?
Yeah. Wherever, within a couple hours driving around.
Oh, shoot. Well, you got to go to Branson. I mean, that's my
I've been there.
place. Okay.
Yeah, I've been there. We were thinking just to go, I was in Lawrence yesterday playing golf. I was just thinking where would be a cool place to just go for a Saturday and go check this out. Topeka, this, that, the other thing. Yeah. I've also wanted to check out these caves, which I haven't been to. Have you been to some of these caves out here?
I don't know. I haven't.
Yeah, because they got them on every billboard. I'm I got to check out these caves. Yeah. So what's growing for people who are from Missouri, who are listening? Why would you tell them to come and move here if you want anybody else here?
Well, I think we're all full, but
so no vacancy.
If you're going to come here, definitely people are great. People are nice. We have all 4 seasons, and some seasons last longer than other seasons, unfortunately. I do think it's kind of getting to be almost a cold state. It's almost like we're either cold or hot. We're not getting a whole lot of in between now for the seasons, it seems like. But yeah, people are down to earth here. There's still a lot of green space here, which is nice. A lot of farms. It is more of a Republican state, and of course, we would like to keep it that way. So that is a concern. We have an fluctuation of people moving. It's like, okay, yeah, you like everything that we're about, but how are you going to vote?
Yeah,
And then, of course, the more people that get here, you also have to think long term, like, is that going to change our electoral count? There's just a lot of things that you really need to take into consideration.
Yeah, you don't want people moving here that change what it is.
Yeah, and that can happen.
Oh, I watched it firsthand in Seattle, Washington,
Yeah.
where I was born and raised. And I'm sure you've heard a lot about Seattle these days.
Yes.
And it changed. It was when I grew up, it was very much like a Smithville. I grew up in a small town, Issaquah, Washington, probably about 11,000 people. It's probably about 150,000 people now. And the city's not the same place I grew up. So I look at it and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like houses that we're selling for $200,000 or $1.5 million right now. And it does change because you got the Bezos effect, you got the Bill Gates effect, all these big jobs. Now you may have just noticed that Google's building a $1 billion factory up in the Northland.
Yeah.
And so jobs and things are coming to Missouri. One thing that I have noticed being out here is that people get paid extremely well in Missouri, and the cost of living is super low in Missouri, and the taxes are super low in Missouri.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying about Missouri is like these are all the unintended benefits that I just happened to stumble into. They obviously have a state income tax and that personal property tax, which I'm not a big fan of, but
Right.
it is what it is. The goods outweigh the positive. Gas is low, things like that. For somebody who's going to the ballot April 2nd and they're like, okay, I'm in between April and this person, why should they move over to your side?
They should definitely vote for me because I was the first one to show interest in even running up against him because he is an intimidating person, honestly. So I was the first person to voice my opinion about wanting to run and making it public. And I was also the first person to show up to sign up to run for mayor. I got there at 4 a.m. with a tent in like 30-degree weather. It was extremely cold. Showed up in my coveralls, and I sat out there because I wanted to be first on the ballot because I felt like that was important.
Wow.
And I did get first on the ballot.
That's committed.
Yes. So,
30 degrees in a tent?
right outside City Hall.
Wow.
I did.
I hope you filmed some of that.
I got some pictures. But yeah, I sat out there for about 4.5 hours.
And why is this mayor intimidating?
He's just not friendly. I mean, you walk up to him in a coffee shop and you're like, can I have a conversation? And he won't even like look up from his phone. He'll be like, yeah, send me an email. I'll try to work something out.
So
Like, and that's happened not from just one person, from multiple people. He said that too.
And have you had any conversations with him?
I have in the past, and what's interesting is that when I was planning on running for city council, aldermen, I mean, they were all behind me and supporting me.
Right.
But of course, when I switched gears, they, did not like that.
Well, once you're against me, you're not my friend, right?
Right, yeah, and it's very much either you support him or you're a peasant and nothing.
Okay, interesting. How long has he been mayor?
6 years. So if he gets voted in, this will put him in for 10 years. So that's quite a while.
Yeah. Well.
And he doesn't even own a house in Smithville.
What?
He rents this little thing over his shop. So that's another, frustrating thing. I feel like you should own a house.
Let's explain why that's important. I'm going to explain so you don't look bad.
Okay.
I'll look bad.
Okay.
If you can't own your own house, then how are you going to manage a city budget?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. You got a bicycle shop. How profitable is that? Put that stuff out there. Show people how you're doing. Where'd the money come from? This, that, and the other thing. But stability, you've got a family. Does he have a family?
He does.
They're living in a shop?
It's above the shop. It's like some loft that's right above his shop. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
What it looks like, but
yeah. So I think that this would be my endorsement, having met April very briefly, is that she does what she says. She got here way early. She's communicative. She gets crap done. And she's telling you can approach her at a coffee shop and she'll talk to you and listen to you. And I think that's important, that you can be able to approach the people that you put in office. So you got my endorsement. I told you I'd offer my support any way you needed it.
Yes.
So any way I can do that, I would definitely do that. And I'll just offer you the last final words for anything that you want to say.
I would just say that it is so important to get out and vote on April 2nd. I mean, because a lot of people say, I support you, but I'm like, please just show up on April 2nd.
Right.
You have to actually execute that thought.
Yes. So execute that thought. It'd be so nice if we could just vote on our phone, right?
Yeah. Well, and another thing that people aren't aware of is that you can vote now, but you do have to go down to the Clay County Election Board in Liberty. I think it's 100 Mississippi. So you can vote there in person now if, you'll be out of town or whatever.
So go vote right now.
So you can't go vote right now.
For April.
Yeah. Get out of the way.
Yeah, get out of your own way, get it done. Don't put it off to the last minute. Drive to Liberty, go get some pizza, go get something to eat, and go cast your vote. And then how do they follow your journey? Are you on the socials?
I am. So I have a Facebook page, Elect April Haddock for Smithville Mayor.
Okay. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, can they get a hold of you directly or anything like that?
Yeah, so on my Facebook page, I just tell people, just call me or text me, and I'll
Okay.
meet you at the library or the gun shop.
Okay. Cool. We'll meet you at the library or the gun shop. Well, I appreciate you coming in, and I appreciate you being so generous with your time. You're just being right on time and everything that you shared with us. And I wish you the best for your election. And if there's anything that we could do to help you out with that, we'd certainly be willing to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.